Hello, good morning, and welcome to this April 16th, 2020 Dawn Busters. Dawn Busters Take Challenge. We have from 1975, James Foxe, Canadian, says Canadian whiskey with natural flavors. Bottled, it says bottled by James Foxe Company, not a real company, never was. It was simply a brand. It says right, James Foxe Company, Frankfort, Kentucky. It's produced in Canada, but bottled in Kentucky. Unlike most Canadian whiskeys, it has no crown, no shield, no maple leaves. Just a fox head, Mr. James Foxe, and a simple brown, gold, and orange label. And the orange is made to look kind of three-dimensional, like it's got depth, but it doesn't, versus flat. Introduced in 1975 by Seagram's, sold to Sazerac in 1989. $8.99 for this 1 liter bottle. JF. Now, the competitor, Black Velvet, imported Black Velvet Reserve. This is an older label. If you look at the website now, there's an updated label design. Now they got the stereotypical Canadian stuff on there. This fancy shield with a crown for the Kingdom of Canada. Well, they don't say kingdom. They say dominion. You say, what's a dominion? A kingdom. Barrel aged in oak, which is meaningless because all Canadian whiskey is barrel aged in oak. But it sounds nice on the label, and a lot of people don't realize that, so they might say, I'm getting this one because it's barrel aged in oak. This is the Reserve. Blended Canadian whiskey, aged 8 years. So they're taking Black Velvet and are giving it 5 extra years. A premium sipping whiskey. Unlike, now it says Canandaigua, New York. Well, that's been changed because now it's being imported through Bardstown, Kentucky. That's been changed. What am I saying? Oh, they're taking the Black Velvet 3-year age and they're giving this, like I said, those clothes up there, I mean sheets and folding and stuff. They're giving it 5 extra years. Well, this thing has gotten kind of, let me go wipe it off. I don't have much left anyway, but I hate for bottles to look bad. I like it to look nice, not ugly. And then it's got this interesting bottle structure, which is like a basket or, yeah, like a, what you call that? Or ice or something, I don't know. What do I know for bottle designs? I know that the pretty ones are prettier than the plain ones. Makes sense. Oh, man. No more left. This is it. I'm worried about wiping it off. But this is it. There's no more Black Velvet Reserve. Oh, well. I wasn't too in love with it anyway, to tell you. It was $10.99 for this 750. $10.99. Is that the normal price? No, it isn't. Usually be about $15. But they had a sale at Dornex, and I bought it. Few favorite sports, says Justin Hopkins. Well, that question doesn't really matter. It's a moot point because there are no more sports because of coronavirus. So too bad. Sports have been eliminated. Your freedom has been eliminated. But like Judge Andrew Napolitano said this morning, I was reading an article. He said, and some stuff he says I agree with, but many things he says I agree with, but he has some kind of personal animosity towards President Trump, and he's always attacking him. Not to say I'm taking up for Trump because I'm not going to vote for him the second time. I did the first time, but there were some things Trump did that I didn't like. But anyway, no, don't get the wrong impression. I'm not going to vote for you know who. All right. I mean, I do these third parties. I'll vote for third party like Constitution Party or something. But anyway, Napolitano made a good point. He said, these leaders who violate your freedom and take away your freedom, they don't deserve to be in office. You know, they don't deserve their job. They don't deserve their position. And they're not following the Constitution. And he said, and they're not going to want to give back the power that they seized. You know, when these people have a coup and they seize power, like Idi Amin didn't really want to give up power, right? So he said, you got to take it back. So you'll have to grab it from their greedy, what did you say, their grasping hands or covetous hands. That's what he said, their cold, covetous hands, because they're cold like a reptile. You know, a reptile, that's why alligators lay out in the sun, because they have no body heat. So they just lay in the sun to get warm. And these are the kind of people like that. They're not like you and I. They don't have their own body heat. Their heat comes from stealing it from you. So he made a very good point. You got to take it back. And I think we're going to see that, this great counter revolution. But anyway, on to the whiskey. They're both golden, so the appearance won't matter. Yeah, I had a friend of mine calling me on the phone yesterday, and she was mad, angry. She was kind of controlled at first, saying, oh, I see you put this thing here and you put that on the internet. And I was like, yeah. And she was getting more, what you say, animated as time went on, and saying, you did a disservice to the country by putting some post, and then she getting more angry. And I just said, I'm not going to back down. I'll never back down. And then finally she said, okay, well, bye. I said, okay, bye. I'm not going to be intimidated. We don't agree. People disagree on things. You know how that works? But on social media, that's usually not the mindset. That their mindset there is, if we disagree on certain policy points, whatever, we can't be friends. And it's like a deranged way of living. You know, I don't live that way, but I fly straight. You know, shoot straight, fly straight. I'm on the level. You know what I mean? I'm on the level with people. But a lot of people are like a hossa. That's a pig that doesn't fly right. But and that's too bad. But we want to be legitimate. We want to be genuine. We want to be honest. We want to be have a life satisfactory to certain upstanding standards. You know what I mean? Appropriate standards. So I was telling her, I said, no, I never agree with any of these things. And I'm not singling her out, because this is a lot of people I talk to that are the same way. They have the same like hyper emotionalism connected with it. And this, she said, so you oppose the mask, you oppose the stay at home, you oppose the quarantine, you oppose the social distancing. I said, none of that would have mattered anyway. Wouldn't have made a hill of beans difference. Wouldn't have mattered. I said, is it the same? It would have been the same people getting sick, same people dying, same amount, you know, give or take. So, and she seemed to get very angry. But this channel is all about standing for freedom and personal liberty and fighting against the empire, not embracing communism. We don't embrace communism here. We oppose it. So we're sort of like one of the vanguards of the counter revolution. And I was talking about that on social media. This is just the beginning of it. It's not the end game. It's the beginning of the game. All right. These people have grasped power. They've revealed their true intentions. And now it's the fallout, the great fallout. Okay. They're brainwashed, says JBD. I know brainwashed, fearful, brainwashed, intimidated, slaves of the empire, slaves of the Blue Lodges, the York Rite, Scottish Rite, whatever you say. Oh, no, here we go. No, I mean, whatever construct you want to talk about, it's all the same program. So, you know, I had some people going stunting on my thing, talking about Facebook. They were going on and on, talking about, I don't know, something about, I don't know, some organization. I was like, yeah, but it's the same program. It doesn't matter if you bring up MK Ultra and all that. It's the same program. You know, you just bring it up. different angles of the same monster. You know what I mean? So he was getting very angry in that sense of in a right-wing way, Christian, probably Protestant evangelical way. And I said, oh boy, somebody's been listening to, I said, somebody's been listening to Wars of Information, because it kind of like stokes that sort of paranoia. Urjo, I read the Texas governor roll back quarantine laws soon. Yeah, remember, they're not laws. Andrew Napolitano said these are not laws. They can't be enforced. These are recommendations that they try to purport to be laws. They say, you have to do this, you have to do that. He said they can't be really enforced by a court. You're not going to have to pay the fine. You're not going to go to jail. And if all the people resist this, then they're sunk. You see, the monster is sunk. So they're not laws. The governor can't make a law, okay? The mayor of New Orleans can't make a city ordinance. The governor of Louisiana can't make a law. All right, the legislature has to do that. All right, let's go on with this. We need a modern day Charles Martel. We might have one. Good morning, Ron, says Maxwell. Good morning to you and the Russian Federation. A freer country than the United States, United Soviet America, but cold. You know, I mean, it's like, oh, do I want to live in that cold, or would I rather live in a warm, socialist, imperialistic country? I don't know. I have to trade off. You say, we're exceptional. We're exceptional. Yeah, we're exceptional. All right. Lee Greenwood, you're going to have to rewrite those lyrics, old boy. Where at least you know you're not free. You're going to stand up next to me and defend what? A mask? Slave mentality? I want you to call me Lee Greenwood. I'm out here. You call me. We'll talk, old bean. This smells like regular old Black Velvet Reserve, which is, you know what? Dull as dishwater. I'm sorry. It's dull as dishwater. I don't hate Black Velvet Reserve, but I don't like it. I don't particularly enjoy it. I think it took them 8 years for that. What did you get after 8 years? Nothing. But you didn't start with much. I'm sorry. I know they got Black Velvet fans who drink it every day, and they don't like me criticizing. I understand that. But you're taking a 3-year age Black Velvet, which is not that hot to start with, and you're aging it 5 extra years. So what do you have? Old or nothing, really. To me, I'm sorry. I don't like it. Thanks for... Oh, Jacob Downey says thumbs up for Ron Ontario. Okay, thank you. Now over here. Yeah, now I was ranting like I do my typical rants and raves. You know, I got to get off my chest. I got a lot more getting to do. But they dissipate. You know, the aromas will dissipate. It's not a good idea all the time to pour and smell. You pour and smell. I mean, you'll get the initial bouquet, all right? You'll get that. But then it sort of dissipates. It atomizes, like the fumes go out into the atmosphere or whatever we are in. But you still pick up, I'm still picking up that flavoring thing. Don't get the wrong impression. This is not artificially flavored like a Jolly Rancher candy. You see. It's natural flavors. Could come from gin, not gin, I don't think, but rum, brandy, other bourbon from the USA. Sherry wine, could be port wine, could be plum wine, could be any kind of wine. If you read the regulations, Canadian government doesn't say what kind of wine. It just said it had to be aged in small wood. Like a barrel, huh? Not too difficult to achieve. Are these whiskeys good with sweet tea? I wouldn't know. I never had them with sweet tea. I would assume they might be if you enjoy that kind of mashup. All right. So, salute to the American people. Up with people, down with tyranny. Ronnie S. wanted to start that anti-war series where he wanted to go through each war, like Spanish. They call it the Spanish-American War, but the more accurate name would be the War on Spain. So he said the war on, I say that, the war on Spain. Then he wanted to go to the First World War, Second World War, then parts of the Third World War. The Third World War really started in 1944. The Korea theater, Vietnam theater, Iraq theater, because that comes, the Third World War is like this ongoing, decades-long struggle between the United States and Great Britain. That axis, the U.S.-British axis, going after Russia, which they had done before 1914, you see. Really, before 1899 is when the British put Russia on the back burner and then focus on who they saw as a greater threat to their hegemony, their world rules. So they went after the Hohenzollern Empire based in Berlin. But anyway, yeah, plum wine. It's so interesting that you drink this and you just get that distinctive plum wine. And Johnny Neely was interpreting that as almond extract. You could think that, and I see why you would think that from initial tasting. But if you keep drinking these, round and round and round we go. Where we stop, we'll never know until we stop. But you start to realize that it probably is plum wine, because I had somebody who told me, well, it's plum wine that they use in Canadian whiskey. And I said, well, how do you know this? Well, and this was the problem there. He said, well, either he said, I work in the industry or I know somebody who works in the industry. That's very interesting. It's not any kind of proof, though. That's not definitive evidence. That's not citing a source, okay? So I run across this many times. People will tell me, well, I got a friend who's in the beer industry, and he can guarantee you such and such. Well, that's not any proof. I could say that. I could say, well, I was talking to Bill Gates yesterday, and he was telling me he had these ideas. And can I back that up? Oh, no, but don't you believe me? Okay, so we want to be more definitive in our evidence. Where am I getting this evidence for Black Velvet? Well, I'm looking at the website. See, 8-year-age whiskey, the medium-bodied spirit delights, with a mix of nutty, malty, and spice notes. Let's see about that. Nutty, malty, and spice notes. Yeah, I guess you could say like walnut. Yeah. Malt. I'd say so. I'm picking up more like corn, unmalted grains, like corn alcohol. It's probably 80% corn, column still corn spirits. But to be fair, there is probably malt whiskey in it. I know there is. It's like a blended scotch. You got 80% grain whiskey, then you got your malt whiskey. It could be Speyside and Highlands or whatever, but Lowland. But to me, this is just like mostly just corn whiskey, providing a dry. It is dry, but mellow grain taste. See, on the finish that offers a hint of wood. I wouldn't necessarily disagree with that description, even though I'm attacking the product. It is dry and it's not overly sweet, which may appeal to some people. I just find it's dull. A hint of wood, yeah, just a tiny hint. Is it a written guarantee? I'm connected, says Urjo. Right, I hear this all the time. Tom Brady tells me I'm connected. I just like to go with evidence, not, I guess you call it hearsay, because I've had people over the years tell me this on Hangouts and in not private messages, but comments on my recorded videos that, oh, I know this is a fact. And I'm interested in those facts. I like to learn these things. But when you tell me, well, I'll say, what's your evidence? And you tell me, well, I heard it from a friend who heard it from a friend who heard it from a friend that you're messing around. It's like, I don't really want to go with that. I'd rather say, here's a link to the article, and it's an article interviewing the distillery master at Canadian Mist. Now, There's the distillery master, his quotes, or him on video. That would be primary evidence. That would be a primary source. Not, I know this guy. And I'm not saying that to be flip, ugly, or hostile to the viewers. I'm saying this is how you back up things. When I taught high school, students would tell me sometimes, you're wrong. I say, A, your tone is not good. If I'm wrong, I'll admit it, okay? But I don't know who you are. You're just a student in the class. But okay, let's assume I'm wrong. I would tell them, show me that I'm wrong. And a lot of times they will come back with that. Well, my daddy said he watched the video. I said, no. That's not evidence. I said, I'm trying to teach you good scholarship. You know, not my daddy watched the video. I said, don't go to college and say stuff like that and use that as a source. Because these professors aren't going to be as like congenial as I am. You know, I got to be congenial because your parents going to come over here with the principal talking about, you insulted my child. And I'm not an insulting person anyway. But, you know, even if I would just say, no, I reject your contention and sometimes they would do that. But I would tell them, my students almost always agree with me. I would say, if I'm 17 years old and I'm in 11th grade, I'm going to be ashamed to bring my parent to the school. You know what I'm saying? Like my father would tell me, can't you handle your own problems? Like, how are you training yourself to be an adult when every time something happens in class, you go run to the school with your mommy or your daddy? That doesn't really bode well for the future, you know? I never wanted my parents involved with things. I would just talk to the teacher privately, you know, say, look, whatever. Of course, you know, some students are like these people on Cops. They want to have a jury trial on the street. You see that, you know, and that's why you see these incidences where people get shot by the cops because they're resisting arrest, you know. But that's another story. But you know what I'm saying? The whole mindset, that whole like immature, warped mindset. But usually things work very well teaching. And sometimes I would point out to the student, no, let me tell you why. Such. Am I wrong? And they would say, oh, I misunderstood what you were talking about. I'd say, oh, misunderstood. Well, that happens sometimes, but you need to cool it. Laughing out loud. You need to cool it. I said, at least you're interested in the lesson, you know, and so forth. At least you're not sitting there like a stump on a log, you know, a bump on a log, like a nothing, like an inert entity. Of course, the students always liked coming up, even if they're a senior in high school, you know, they're so grown up, you know, I'm a senior. I'd say, yeah, I was a senior once. They want to come up to the board. You know, I always want to come up to the board and with the little, you know, electronic chalk. You know, it's a smart board where they could write on it with different colors. So they're all grown up, you know, like, I have a mustache. I'd say, that's good. And then I'd say, who wants to come? Me. I was like, oh, they're like in first grade again. So they could take turns coming up to the board. And they would even stop me before class starts at lunch. Mr. Terrio, can I go up to the board and do the notes today? I'd say, yeah, Charles, you could do it. Ooh, good. It's funny how you could like use psychological manipulation to make people behave, mainly by letting them come up to the board and draw. Oh, man. Funny stuff. Actually, now I'm more aware of how much I don't know. I knew more when I was 18 than I know now, says Jacob. Right. Everybody knows so much when they're a teenager. They don't know anything, you know, but they think they know everything. But I've gotten into it with adults. I have some friends, so-called. One guy I used to teach school with. Oh, he knows everything. He was telling me on Facebook. I made a post on Facebook about marijuana and alcohol. So I don't even remember the purpose of the post. Something. Can't remember. He used to flame my posts all the time. Usually positive, but he doesn't anymore. He got his feelings hurt, I guess, or something. But he comes on there, and I like him, but he comes on there. I say, oh boy, here we go. He comes in there talking about, well, marijuana and alcohol are the same. I was like, what? Like, what are you talking about? I think his job was, he felt like he was a ambassador for marijuana. You know, he's there to justify smoking pot. Well, I don't care what he smokes. It doesn't make any difference to me. But his whole central point of the argument was marijuana is the same as alcohol. And I told him, I said, I don't even know what you're talking about. Well, marijuana is the same as alcohol. I said, how so? I mean, why would you get that idea? It would be like saying a pony is the same thing as a bunny rabbit. Well, they're both animals. And that was his point. They're both drugs. I said, aspirin is a drug. Hydrocortisone is a drug. Are they the same drug? Do they have the same properties? And he just kept going on and on. I was like, I have never seen a person could miss an entire theme, not just particular points of argument, but the entire main idea. He was going on and on. I said, marijuana is a psychedelic and alcohol is a depressant. Okay. They're not even the same class of drugs. I don't even know what you're talking about. You just kept going on and on. And finally I said, let me try to simplify this for you. And then I broke it down in a very elementary way. Oh, he got enraged. And when I went to his house that weekend for the Saints game, he was like, you need to simplify things for me, huh? Like he was mad. I started laughing. I said, apparently. I said, but I don't mind doing that because I like to help people. I like to educate. You know, boy, he didn't take that the right way. But I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I can't help that. If you come rushing into a conversation like a bull in a china shop and you want to bum rush the conversation, that's fine with me, but at least have some scintilla of sense of logic. You know, logic does have a place. And I mean, I wasn't going to back down. There was no way. That was an impossibility. That could not happen. And he knew that. Weed and boozahol are not even close. Were Cheech and Chong good weed ambassadors? I don't know. I guess caffeine and heroin are both drugs, right? But for the time, I think maybe they showed the lighter side as opposed to reefer madness, right? Yeah, well, they're probably some kind of CIA operation. Cheech and Chong probably were getting money from the Tavistock Institute or something. I don't know. Probably not, but I mean, maybe Hollywood, probably some kind of project. At least Jefferson Airplane admitted they were part of a CIA project. They admitted it and it's on YouTube, where members of that psychedelic band admitted they were part of a CIA project. And that's why they never got arrested for openly using drugs, throwing bags of lysergic acid diethylamide to the audience during concerts. Never got in trouble. They got arrested for other things, other bad behavior, but not drugs, ever. And the lead guitarist said the CIA guys would go ahead of the band at concert and tell the local police, don't arrest them. They're part of a project. And they thought it was comical. The band thought it was extremely comical. And Grace Slick said, we got the best LSD because it was produced by University of California at Berkeley in a lab, you know, like by really professional people. And who was that guy's name? Owsley. You remember with the acid test, electric Kool-Aid. But so they admitted it, and they thought it was just funny, you know, which is funny in some ways and very bad in other ways when you start thinking about it. Well, neither one of these whiskeys is bad. I don't want you to get the wrong impression. Do I favor one over the other? Clearly. I think the James Foxe is better. It's nicer. It has more flavor. I mean, it's not way better. Okay, it's not like, oh, this is A+ 100 and this is trash garbage. It's nothing like that. It's just that this has a nicer flavor. I like the Sazerac blended Canadian whiskeys. They have a nice touch to them. This one here is a little drab, even though it's aged 8 years. It's a little drab, a little bit drab. You insulted him a little bit. Okay. So I'm going to say this is the JF. And when I look at the label, it's going to say JF. It will say JF. And I'm not saying it because I know some guy who works in the industry that knew a guy and told him something. No. This is evidence. JF. I'll show you the label if you need to see it. JF. Ha, 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 ha. James Foxe. Hey, well, I don't feel too bad because I predicted a week ago that I was going to nail it. That's how different they are. Is that me? Does that indicate I'm some great whiskey expert? I don't think so. It indicates that these don't taste very much alike, and that you could, I think most of you all out there, if you drink enough of these, you know, a few, let's say you practice for a week. Oh yeah, you'd get it right every time. I mean, that's the fun part. The practicing is the good part. Allen Iverson might take issue with that. You know, he'll say practice. We're not talking about the game. We're talking about practice. I would see if I'd have been that reporter. Good thing I wasn't the reporter. I'd have said, yeah, you're right. We are talking about practice. You know how you don't do it and you don't put an effort into it, and how that translates into the fact that you and your teams have won 0 NBA championships. I'd have said, yeah, we are talking about practice and not the game, because you are trying to dodge the issue that practice has a relationship to ultimate game performance. See? But these reporters are so sycophantic. You know, they want to be invited back to that clubhouse and be on the inside with the athletes, that they won't ask hard questions. And if they do get called out for asking hard questions, they're like, I'm sorry, Alan, I didn't mean to insult you. The good reporters would say, hey, you can get mad if you want. But it's a known thing that you don't care about practicing. And it's also well known that you have won no championships. And you can get your toddler, and, you know, I love how these NBA players have all their props. They use their children as props. You know, what is all of that? It doesn't matter now because sports is outlawed now by the dictators, but what, and maybe forever. But what is all that? You're going to do a post-game interview, and you got your little kid, 2-year-old. They don't know where they are or what they're doing, and they're playing with the microphone going, gaga, goo, goo. And they're like, that's my daughter. That's my daughter. It's like, okay, well, so we understand people have children. You know, we don't need to see that, like you're using your child as a prop. Like wearing glasses that have no corrective lenses. It's just they're a prop. I don't know. I noticed too many things, I guess. All right. Well, anyway, thanks for watching this taste challenge, and we'll be back in 2 days with Lord Calvert. Well, now that could be trouble. That could be trouble. So you might watch a failure there, boy. Ooh. That's going to be a little bit scary. I don't mind, though. Great stream, says Jacob Downey. Thank you, Jacob, for watching. And get ready for a Tragic Kingdom on Saturday morning. Holla back, girl.